Okay. I'm in a video. Not my video, but see this video? Let's watch it.
What's up, guys?
Wait, first, I was just...
Evildea here, and today I wanted to provide another update on the Encapsulated language project. There's been quite a bit that's happened since the last update, and I envision in the future...
First, I'll just check if this is done. Take 2. Okay, I don't know how I'm going to join these two takes together, but yeah, the mic's on.
What's up, guys? Evildea here, and today I wanted to provide another update on the Encapsulated language project. There's been quite a bit that's happened since the last update, and I envision in the future that I'll be releasing these videos every few days for at least the foreseeable future, for two reasons. One, for those who aren't as engaged in the project but want to keep up to date with how it's progressing, can through these videos, and two, it kind of provides a historical record of where we're at, and allows me to project my thoughts into the community. There's a number of proposals that are going on at the moment, and each proposal is reliant
What? Oh.
on the other, and until we get these three sorted out, there's not much more that can happen. Which is why I have not been massively promoting
As you can see, yes, you can see.
Community yet. So at the moment we're at 26 members. Last video we were 23. There's a little bit of growth, but I have not really promoted this community yet because I want these three main proposals, which I consider basically fundamental to the entire language, to be sorted out before I bring in more people. So I plan, after these three proposals are sorted, that I will then make videos on my main YouTube channel, my Esperanto one, which would probably bring in like 50 more members right away, because there's a lot of linguists, mathematicians, and conlangers who follow that channel. But we need these sorted out, because I believe if we bring those people in now, it's actually going to create more of a hindrance than a help. Later on, more people is better, but at this early stage, less people is better. Especially considering that we've already got people who are experienced in the sciences, the maths, and the linguistics of languages, that we don't really need more cooks in the kitchen, per se. So what are these three proposals? Well, one is for a base system, one is for a numeral system, and one is for the phonetics. And as you can see, all
the base system is my proposal.
three are linked together, or at least you're going to see how they're linked together. Now, the main proposal that all others are relying on is the base system. So for the last week, we have been discussing in different threads the advantages of a base 12 versus a base 16 system. Some of the proposals are reliant on a base 12 system, some are reliant on a base 16 system. So the result of this drive...
Personally, I'm more on the base 16 system. As you can see, my entire freaking proposal is based off it. No pun intended.
Our proposal will cause the collapse of other proposals. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. That will happen in the future. You might have a great idea, but it might not fit with the language, or at least the community believes it does not fit with...
Just move. I can't move the game. Thus, I cannot vote. Wait, I can just... I'll just vote now. 16? Vote. Yeah. It's not doing very well. Hmm. 16.
The aim of the language, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So here's the draft proposal. Base 12 or base 16, question mark. A very simple proposal. I believe this is the aim of the language, whatever it may be. So here's the draft proposal. Base 12 or base 16, question mark. A very simple proposal. I believe this is enough, because basically the majority of members have been discussing this already in some form over the past week, so it does not really need elaboration. Pretty much every other proposal is like a book length, except for this one, so you can see this is on people's mind. Now, this poll is going to end in 3 days and 5 hours, and according to the encapsulated language documentation, a draft proposal that gets 50% or more of member support will become an official proposal, which means all other draft proposals need to follow that official proposal. Doesn't mean that it can never change. We've got 5 years to change this, but it's going to be pretty hard to change this, a fundamental aspect of the language, once it's voted on. So if you have a hardcore opinion about base 12 or base 16, you have not voted, now's the time to get in there and vote. Now,
so, what do you vote for? Okay, what do you vote for? Base 12, which has the advantages of... You know what? Let me just... Which can be divided by so many numbers, or base 16, which is used in computing.
as you can see, we're only 3 days off of the poll closing, and there's already pretty big community swing towards base 12. I was originally like, yeah, base 12 all the way, and then I was like, well, actually I can see the advantages of base 16, and then I'm like, oh no, actually base 12. So it's kind of hard, and now I'll talk about why it's hard. So this person here, Sanhei, I don't know how to pronounce your name, has
That was the one I used
summarized
for.
it quite nicely here and down at the bottom, and I'll go through both spots. So with a base 12 system, you can nicely divide between 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And its usage is pretty much universal across time. You look at a clock is in base 12, it goes 1 to 12, okay? A base 16 system nicely divides between 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16, but it's used mainly in computers. So if you look at a hex system in computers for storing colors, it's in base 16, or IP version 6, it's in base 16. Now you might be thinking instantly, well, we definitely computers is like the thing, but that's a constantly evolving system, and our aim here is to encapsulate knowledge that will be useful for the foreseeable future for children, so I don't think that's such a massive advantage. Now, I'm going to go through what I initially thought. So I thought the downside of a base 16 system is this. We would need a lot more vowels. In fact, would be on the same level as English, which...
Does English has the vowel? Wait, it has the vowel. That's basically the e. Does base 16 have? Does English have the vowel? Hope I. Does it have this vowel? Yeah. Does it have? Yeah.
Which obviously is not the hardest thing in the world, because we're not aiming to create an international auxiliary language, but it would make it harder for the initial generation of speakers. The second downside that I foresaw is that a 16 by 16 times table that children would need to memorize would be a lot more than a base 12 system.
As you can, see here. Take a good look at it. Alternatively, take a good look at this. Because that's the one that's probably going to be the one that Yan measly, don't hurt me. Yan
I
measly.
actually didn't think about how much more, but I knew it would be more. Another person clarifies that down below. Now, there is some advantages to base 16. We have a lot more flexibility when it comes to affixes, because we've got 16 different vowels that we could possibly slot in to the affixes. We could be so much more precise with the information we're encapsulating in the language.
Just like my prefix system in my base 16 thing. There's going to be 16 categories with 16 subcategories each. That means 256 subcategories. You can only get 144 subcategories in a base 12 thing.
And I also spoke about the fact that, it's commonly used in computing, but I also note that we don't know how long it's going to be commonly used in computing. If you think about it, IP version 4 is now basically out of date, and that was around for 40 years, and now we're up to IP version 6, which is base 16. Maybe that will be gone in 40 years. Who knows? Now, this person down here put it quite eloquently, and I think this most relates to our goal. Remember, our goal is so that you can teach this to children natively, and it gives them the biggest head start possible in life and basically builds a generation of geniuses just due to the fact that they come with knowledge encapsulated intuitively. Now, he pointed out that with a base 10 system, that's what all children learn at school at the moment, they need to memorize 5 tables and 5 patterns.
Hello, I'm just watching.
What?
Yes.
You have to ligo. Kasi itchy ka kanina, remember?
I'm not really much itchy right now.
But you still have to ligo because you roll over the floor there, it's dirty. And it's all over and then you sleep on your bed.
Roll over the floor.
Yeah, you were rolling over the floor away from the mat.
Was I?
No, little bit.
Okay, that's what children do right now. Now, if we look at a base 12 system, they would need to memorize 4 tables and 8 patterns. So if you're going with base 12, it's actually easier to memorize because there's more patterns you can recognize and less tables you need to route learn, which is actually really like a really good advantage, especially for what we're trying to do is make life easier for children. Obviously, there's downsides. Everyone else in society is working on base 10 and we'd be working on base 12. But I don't think that would be so much of an issue overall, especially considering that these children's brains would be operating in base 12 and then they'd just learn from society base 10 anyway. It's pretty much unavoidable. But base 12 is where it's at least in my mind. Now, that's for base 12. What about base 16? Well, base 16 you'd have to memorize between 8 and 10 tables and follow between 6 and 8 patterns. So it's actually double base 12. The amount of route learning you would have to do is at a minimum double. Now, for me, that was the point that sold it for me. There was like lots of advantages for base 16, but the thing that sold it for me was this right here. Our objective is to create a language that helps the children and gives them a massive boost forward. This, I feel like, would hold the children back because they'd be spending so much more time trying to memorize all these tables. Once they memorized them, they would be great at maths. But it would take so much longer and they'd fall behind their peers and that would possibly impact upon their own self-esteem. Considering the fact that they're probably going to be thinking in this mathematical system, they're already going to be having a little bit of difficulties, but realistically, base 12 just has way more advantages than base 10. Okay, so there's a bunch of other reasons for and against base 12 and base 16, spread across all these different threads. Basically, if you have a strong opinion and you have not voted, now's the time to vote, because once this becomes an
12 for 16. Yan easily made a base of... Yan easily made an entire video about bases, and he presented a different option. Not 16 or 12. But his collab video with Artifactian, however, as you can see here.
Are you talking how much?
I'm recording.
Mm.
Has 16.
An official proposal, I don't think this will ever change. Because it just touches on every aspect of the language. So make your vote today. You have 3 days and 5 hours left. Do it. Go vote. Even if you're not that, like, engaged in the project, think about it. Like, spend a good 10-20 minutes, do some research and think about it, because this will impact every aspect of the language. Okay, now let's talk about we're going to talk now about the numeral system. So the numerals, because we're going to be using probably base 12, maybe base 16, we can't just use Latin numerals. Latin numerals are designed for a base 10 system. It looks weird to use it for a base 12 or 16 system. Plus, there's so much more information we can encapsulate within the physical appearance of the numerals themselves, at least in the numerals. Now, there's downsides to this, obviously. The main downside is there would be no Unicode support and we'd have to write our own support for this type of numeral system. But since we're going for the long term and we're going to be passing this on from generation to generation, I imagine that this would not be a long-term issue. Short term, yes. Long term, no. So here's the numerals. As you can see, maybe you can kind of guess what they're showing, but I'm going to look at B. So a dot just represents 0. 1 dash is 1, 2 dashes is 2, 3 dashes is 3. Same as Chinese, okay? Then you got 1 dash like this. A dash like that, a horizontal dash, represents a 4, okay? So then you go 4 plus 1, that's 5. 4 plus 2, that's 6. 4 plus 3
You can guess where this is going.
is, you guessed it, 7. So you can see the pattern already forming here. And then you put 2 4s together and that gives 8. So, just from this alone, we know the 4 times and the 3 times tables visually. We can see the pattern occurring. Because 3 is embedded, you just look for any numeral that consists of just 3 strokes, and that's part of the 3 times table. And 4 is embedded because you just look for the horizontal dashes. 1 dash is 4, 2 dashes is 8. So, you've got instant access to both the 3 and the 4 times table just visually from that. Okay, now there's other advantages. There's discussions regarding music and a range of other things. There's also the fact that you could use it for modulusing, which would be very, very handy, especially when you're thinking from a computing perspective, and other stuff. But basically, that's the proposal for numerals at the moment. What we're doing is we're trying now to mix this with the proposal for the phonology, which is what I'm going to discuss now. So, phonology. Okay. I discussed the phonology a little bit in a previous video.
Wait, wrong phonology. Wrong language.
I wanted in this video to more go over the pattern that we're trying to embed. Now, this pattern is not yet set in stone. As you can see, flame rate, or press F1, basically is still accepting input from the community and formalizing the final phonology, so expect this to change. Now, the idea is that odd values, now I actually got this slightly wrong in my post here because I was trying to understand it, but basically what would happen is unvoiced constants would be odd values and voiced constants would be even values. So what does that mean? Basically, the number system, you have to be able to say it. There's going to be sounds that represent each.
As you can wait. I can't believe half this video is just me trying to figure out where things are. This is the encapsulated language thing. As you can see, There are no official proposals. There are only these 4 draft patents. My number-based system proposal. My number-based poll. Jean Hayes is numeral proposal. Evildea's is country proposal, which he explained in the previous video. And there's this. Flame rates. It's phonology proposal. It goes k, p, g, t, d, p, b, like he said. However, there's also y, wh, w, her, I hope I pronounced this R right. The vowels goes a, e, u, o, Yes, it counts as a consonant and a vowel. And then there's also these sh, sh. I need the IBA resource. The R. Wait.
Sha, sha, ja, ja.
Okay. Sh, z, z, sh, z, ch, j, z, ch, j. Hope I pronounced it right. The alternate changes the vowels, so like a, I, e, o, e, a, u, l, e, or whatever.
Number. Well, sounds that use an unvoiced consonant would mean that that number is an odd value. And sounds that use a voiced consonant would mean that that number is an even value. So when the child's in school or they're getting their education, the teacher could literally say, okay, say the numbers. Okay, anytime you're saying something that's voiced, that's an odd value. Anytime you're saying something, an even value. Anytime you say something that's unvoiced, that's an odd value. And instantly the child can just recognize odd and even values. They don't need to think about it mathematically. And then they can learn the mathematics behind it later on about the division by 2 type thing. So you can see we're encoding the numbers into the sounds and into the numerals, or maths into the sounds and into the numerals, and there's a lot more that we plan to do in the future. But these 2 proposals, the numerals and the phonology, are basically, we're at the stage of just trying to mesh them together nicely and make it fit nicely. And obviously, those 2 can't be decided until the base system's decided. That's why we're voting on the base system now. Makes sense. Also, on a side note, logos! So we need something that represents this.
Yeah, logos. That's also a thing we don't have done for. The language doesn't have a name, doesn't have a logo or a flag, it doesn't have a number base currently, no numerals, no phonology, and place your votes in now.
This language, there's been a number of proposals for logos. This is basically what it's coming down to at this stage, as you can see. This one on the left is my favorite. Now, you're probably wondering, what does this represent? Well, that sign there just represents talking. And then embedded is a question mark. So we're basically saying, you know, this is a language to question, to learn, knowledge, because, you know, questioning is knowledge, and talking because it's a language. Now, there's also been proposals to move the dot down to the top here, and there's various reasons for that. But I foresee within the next few days, this draft proposal will probably be put to a community vote. So if you like the logo, come in, say what you think. If you think there's something fundamentally wrong with it, let us know. Now, obviously, the logo is the shape. The colors, all that type of stuff would probably change across different communities, but this is probably the standard colors that we're going for because people seem to like the blues.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where we're at. Whew, that was quite a video. If you guys have got any thoughts or you want to actually take part in the community, links in the description. Come to the subreddit and take part. And that's pretty much it. So I'll see you all in the next video.
I'm gonna put the same links in my description of this video, which is literally just this link, and also give you a link to the poll. Okay, bye. Also, I'm going to connect these videos, connect these takes.